Hello everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're taking a look at the 2024 Team Canada World Junior roster. So with that being said, the first impressions of this team are that they're not going to be your most skilled of teams, as we've seen from Canada. Not necessarily not going to be the best skilled team, but from Canada's perspective, not the most skilled team, more so, those bigger bodies where they're going to sort of be able to throw it around a little bit more. Fight teams that, are more skilled than them, but have that ability to play some better defense. And I think that's really what we're looking at here with Canada. So when we look at this team, we'll throw up the graphic here so you can sort of get a glimpse of it. So the players are Owen Allard, Owen Beck, Macklin Celebrini, Easton Cowan, Nate Danielson, Jordan Dumais, Matthew Savoy, Matthew Wood, Braden Yeager, Connor Geekie, and Fraser Midden, and Carson Rybkoff. So with that being said, this team is sort of an interesting mix of characters. I mean, your skilled guys right off the bat that are really, sort of jumping out. Macklin Celebrini, he's going into his draft year, sort of consider him like that Bedard. So where he really wants to sort of prove himself at this tournament, that's how, you think about it in previous years, that's where a lot of the players start to build up their draft stock. You think all the way back to Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky sort of made a name for himself at the World Juniors, and then in the Olympics, he just took off. So with that being said, Macklin Celebrini is a player I do want to say definitely look out for in this tournament. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. Another one is Easton Cowan, 20th overall to the Leafs. He's another really, really interesting player, and I think he will be one that definitely to watch for as this team sort of progresses. And one thing that I will mention here, they are missing one forward. So what they're sort of looking at here and what I expect to happen, they're waiting for the two NHL players to either get released or not. The two they're looking at are Zach Benson, Matthew Poitras from the Boston Bruins, and the Buffalo Sabres for Benson. So those two players I don't expect to move. Both players are getting some NHL time. And really what we've seen, especially after the Kirby Dach incident, that NHL teams probably aren't going to be sending their players. We saw it as well with Korchinski, where the NHL teams aren't necessarily as willing to loan out their players to this tournament. Really doesn't mean much to the NHL teams, but at the same time, when we think about it, right, if you're going to have your star player get hurt, like Kirby Dach was, they're going to have to trade him away for really nothing, and that's what ended up happening with the Blackhawks. They lost all the value for him because he never got a shot back after breaking his wrist in preseason play against Russia. So with that being said, it's going to be an interesting year. I mean, the U.S. is going to get a couple more players. I mean, they are probably going to be the favorites in this tournament, but let's be honest here. And what year aren't the U.S. favorites? They seem to always choke it away. But with that being said, if the Canadian team cannot get the two NHL players, Benson or Poitras, they're going to have to get stuck with two players. My prediction is going to be Yeager Furcus. He was a player who's over a point per game. He's just under actually a goal per game, and I think in his own league. And I think when we look at it, it's going to be an interesting player to look at. I think when we look at sort of his skill set, he's more so of just a scorer. He provides sort of what Canada's missing a little bit. And I think when you also look at it, Denver Barkley's another one. He's more of a, that's smaller. He's smaller. He's 5'7". But what he can do, is that penalty kill option. He's a small, he's rowdy, basically. You think about it. He's going to be scrappy. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to win. So with that being said, I do like both those options for Canada. I lean a little bit more to Furcus. I know he had a bad camp, but you got to give him a chance, especially when we've seen what he can do in his own league. So we'll see. With that being said, in the CHL. So with that being said, we'll see what he can actually do. We'll take a look at the defense now. We have Oliver Bonk. Oh, no, also one more part on the last part. Owen Beck is a returnee, the only returnee for Canada in this current year. But with that being said, Oliver Bonk, Jake Furlong, Maverick Lamoureux, Tristan Luneau, Denton Matejchuk, Tanner Molendyk, and Noah Warren are your defensemen. Really not too much of a surprise here. Sort of that much bigger in size is what they're looking for with this sort of decor. And I really think when we look at it, once again, they're trying to keep pucks out. They're trying to be able to contend with some of the weaker teams in terms of skill-wise, but the bigger size. And we've seen it year after year. The bigger teams cause problems for Canada because they are so small. Skilled players, they just get bodied out of all the areas they need to be in. So with that being said, that's really the main reason why Canada's starting to move into the bigger bodies, the guys who can throw around weight. Yes, they're still really, really skilled players, but they are going for more so that bigger, tougher D-line. And I think that's really going to help Canada in this tournament. Nothing really to say here about the cuts. They weren't going to crack the lineup at all. In my opinion, these were the proper picks. And there won't be any, they filled their D, so there won't be any Canadian D that are coming to this tournament. It doesn't make sense for them to do so. And lastly, we'll look at the goalies with Scott Ratzlaff, Mathis Rousseau, and Samuel St. Hilaire. So these goalies, once again, nothing to write home about. I would say I'd probably lean a little bit to Rousseau just off of what we've seen. But there's really no bad option for Canada. We've seen year after year, these goalies, they don't necessarily look good on paper. They never have. But when they get to the tournament, they go crazy and they do really well. So I'm going to assume that Canada's picked their goalies well this year. My opinion, just Rousseau is the best option out of anyone here. St. Hilaire, I'd argue sort of that close backup, but Ratzlaff as well is pretty good. I'd say St. Hilaire and Ratzlaff is a toss-up. Rousseau for me should be the starter. We'll see overall what happens. Obviously, preseason starts on Friday, December 22nd at 9 a.m. Remember, a.m. in Eastern Time. We finally get the morning games back. Woohoo. Something to wake up for. With that being said, let me know your thoughts down below. And with that being said, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really like to consider subscribing, tell all your friends. Let me know your thoughts on Team Canada. Until next time, see ya.